Hey, welcome to this episode of Happy in 15. In this episode, we're going to talk about is your IT team facing cost-saving pressure? And I think, Sami, this is something that we hear nowadays quite a lot. And of course, that's understandable when you look at the economy, the industries, that we are surrounded today. And just to highlight that on this episode, we're going to see some graphs as well. And to see the graphs, you can also access our YouTube channel and see us live. Well, almost live. Yeah. But hey, to get started, I mean, there's probably 3 main points that we're going to highlight in the end, how to focus you to cost savings. But let's start from something that what are you really talking about when it's about cost savings, the focus of IT and so on. So Sami, go ahead.
I think the first thought that comes to IT people's mind is that how we save cost inside IT. But I would say that is not really enough, because it's not that the business requirements would be lower now when you have to maybe spend 15-20% is less. You still have to deliver the same value to business or even higher. So the thing when we are talking about cost savings in IT, what you really have to do is finding that sweet spot of focus. And today we are going to talk about how you can use experience data to really find those areas that make IT more efficient, simultaneously making business more efficient.
Yeah. And when we're talking business more effective, it means that kind of saving the time from the thousands of end users that are using the IT services, so that they can actually do their work more efficiently, do their work better, and in that sense, the company create better results, more revenue, that kind of things.
Exactly,
have happier employees and
true. Yeah. And one thing which is now coming more and more on the table and into discussions is reducing churn. Yeah. So if you can make your people happier, they will stay in the company longer. And I think we can talk about this in the later episodes a bit more, that what kind of data there is now coming from other vendors about that.
Yeah. But when we start talking about focus, we put out this global IT experience benchmark report just some time ago. And one of the new findings was that where is actually people saying, the end users of IT, that they're losing their time. And it was quite interesting. So do you want to do a short summary? We did an episode of this earlier as well, so go and listen to that one if you want to know really on the back end. But when you talk about IT incident tickets, what did you find, Sami?
So as I told in the last episode, this is maybe one of the key finding we have ever done from our happiness score report on the data. And this is now based on 8 million responses from end users in 130 countries. So we can trust this data.
Yeah.
But 69% of all tickets are causing 6% of the lost work time. So almost 70% of all tickets, only 6%. But on the other hand, 13% of all tickets causing 80% of that lost work time.
Yeah.
And I think this is very, very important now to kind of think about it and understand from the perspective that how we can really focus our efforts.
And if we kind of look at this compared to the previous picture, which was about cost saving from IT and time saving from business, now really the 69% of tickets are really when you start looking internally into IT processes. But actually the 80% of lost time, that's actually where the end users of IT are being frustrated, are being wasting their time when they try to get their job done.
Exactly, and now when you want to really do both, be efficient in IT and be creating value for business, you have to find out what are those 13% of tickets in your case.
Yeah.
And how you should prioritize them in your service desk to be handled first, not the last one. So we discussed about in the last episode that is it so that these tickets are the ones that are reassigned, are the tickets that where you don't meet your SLAs, this is what happens and you lose the interest on them. But whatever that is, you have to know it, and you have to do that in your ITSM tool, that these are the tickets that are first solved.
Yeah.
Being efficient in that 69% is things that people have been already doing. And most of the kind of channel development and that stuff have been focusing on automation and automating the easy tickets, password resets and so on. So we are doing that quite well already in IT.
Yeah.
And yes, you can get more efficient in there, but I could also challenge the whole thing that, hey, what if your even automation projects would be focused on that 80%. So really automating that complicated process of the end user.
Yep.
Because I think it's kind of what I have felt in the discussions when talking about automation. We in IT, we very, very typically are focused on what of our own tasks we can automate.
Yeah.
When we should be looking at how we can automate the process of the end user, which is a bit different.
And automation is sometimes like, it seems complicated, but let's take like the example from one of our customers who found that with the SAP tickets, there were a certain group of people, surprise, finance people. Yeah. At the end of the month, end of the quarter, they were reporting a lot of lost time. Because that's the moment when the finance people, you don't want to go and mess with finance people at the end of the month. You leave them alone because they really need to get a lot of stuff done. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the moment where they up the prioritization of those tickets for that period. That 1 week or week and a half, they up the prioritization and it actually resulted in less lost time. Yeah. So during that time, just focus on those things, and then the finance people, they are fine. The second week and third week of the month, then they maybe start again looking at what is the data telling and what reports we need to run and all this other stuff. So that's a good example that, an SLA, if it has you need to solve it in this time, it depends. Yeah. You can't have it always for every group of people, the same thing. But yeah.
Exactly, and I think the other thing, what you can do in that 80% is about thinking about, and first of all, recognizing the services involved.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the reassignment count is the reason. So you are first trying to solve something in the first line where you don't have the skills needed for it. And then maybe it's even 2 steps before it really goes to an expert. If you recognize those areas, you have excellent ITSM tools where you can optimize the process.
Yeah.
You are now using chatbots and portals where you recognize that this is about this service, this is about this and that. But still you follow the same process behind it when you could take that ticket directly to one who is the best resolving tickets in that area.
Yeah.
So that is something we still see too rare.
Yeah. Because
you have to understand how much cost there is for that end user or for your business if they have to wait. Yes, of course, the ticket resolving in the 4th line or 3rd line is more expensive, but that will anyway happen.
Yeah.
So take those tickets direct to experts. Don't too much stay on the kind of thinking we have to be working in the first line, Spock kind of stuff. Mostly it works, but in some cases you have to think about in a way of getting people to talk to an expert faster.
Yeah. And I think another thing which is maybe sometimes difficult for IT teams, IT people, and here we are talking about where to cut costs, how to communicate, the value that they're providing, is the communication towards business.
Yeah.
If you can proactively say that, hey, here is where most of the time is lost from your employees, Mr. Business Stakeholder or Mrs. Business Stakeholder, then you are being proactive. You are talking to the business that I understand where the frustration is. And again, it comes to the watermelon. I understand where the red is, and everything is fine here. Let's not talk about saving costs there. Let's focus on where we are really losing time from the number of employees in the company.
Yeah. Then you can explain, okay, it is only this amount of tickets that is not handled well, or which is causing that business effect. And it might even be that you are handling them well, but those are complicated ones. But still, you should be shifting your focus on those ones. And when you do that together with business, you get the trust back, because they hear about that 13%. Those stories are really bad, and that is causing issues for your reputation.
Yeah.
So of course, those guys who are happy, they will give good comments about it and so on. So you will get a better reputation for IT. But if you don't focus at all on that complicated ones, your reputation will stay in the watermelon.
Yeah. And I think then, if you have outsourced vendors, and many times these tickets, when there's a lot of reassignments, means that there might be multiple vendors working on it. Yep. Then your contracts are kind of driving them to certain behaviors. True. But again, if you openly, transparently look at, hey, this is where the problem is, and you bring everybody around the same table, and let's collaborate, let's fix this, and then maybe there's a reward or something else, that is not very typical outsourcing contract way. You get people to focus on really bringing value and not just doing the bare minimum that the contracts said, and then just say that, hey, it's not my fault, it's this other person's fault. But get rid of that mentality. That's really important as well. But I think we'll come back to that one again in another episode more.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to mind now related to cost savings when we are looking at this division of tickets and lost time?
I think one point I want to underline here, that is now when we are facing that cost saving thing, it doesn't mean if you start to do experience management, it doesn't mean that you have to add more people on the game. It is back to that focus.
Yeah.
And when looking at this 69% is only 6%, I think in many cases you could free resources from that 69% is to be focused on those more complicated cases. If you just change how you are measuring people and how you are, what you are evaluating in the service desk. But I know that it's a complicated thing, but we know that from that 69% there are tickets that it doesn't matter if it's solved in 1 day or 1 hour, still that lost time wouldn't go up because it's the nature of that service. And that is the kind of value of that lost time that we are measuring, that separate from the happiness, that you can do decisions only based on the productivity, not only how happy people are.
Yeah. But hey, if we go a little bit and summarize what we have been talking today, so maybe the 3 things, and we kind of put it in this like tactical versus strategic, low cost, high cost type of cost saving point of view. I think the first one was to reduce IT cost and prioritize spend. So reduce ticket reassignments, time saved from end users and IT, prioritize improvements. Anything you want to summarize?
I think this is something that is quite often already done by our customers, and typically what is done in the industry is and this is naturally coming partly from when you're adding chatbots and you are really using portals in the way they should be used. Yeah.
And then the second one was if you're outsourcing your IT is to optimize the IT outsourcing. So actually measure experience baseline, manage experience level targets, and so on. So kind of get from this old SLA type of contracting to actually driving better experiences for the end users.
Yeah, and I think this is a big step in a way that you really change your biggest provider or kind of most important provider in the service desk area at least, being focused on experience. And we have seen that those MSPs are really good in using experience data when you start to do that. And I think we have been talking about that 36% increase of happiness in outsourcing cases. So it really is a big thing. And that is then making it possible to do those focused decisions together with the MSP. Because otherwise, if you let the SLAs run your business, you are just doing decisions based on somebody shouting. And those minimum requirements which SLAs are. So understanding experiences will make it possible to do those cooperation decisions with your vendors.
But hey, we'll come back to that probably maybe in the next episode already. And then the third one, like automate areas that actually matter. So identify areas for automation with business impact, not just IT process optimization.
And this might first sound complicated, but in a way it is underlining that to do the right automation decisions, you have to think about the process of the end user. Not the process of the agent or your IT processes, but what is happening in the end user's process and in his mind or her mind. And thinking about how you can make that easier. And of course, chatbots and all those tools are there to make the solving tickets on their own and so on. But also think about that, what we discussed earlier, prioritization of different kind of tickets, and not prioritizing them by the priority of end users, that this is a director and so on. Yes, you can do that as well in some cases, but not talking about that. Talking about prioritizing tickets based on the lost productivity.
And I think people are you can borrow our slogan for your automation purposes. So if you think that I'm automating something, will it create more smiles and less time wasted for the IT end users? But cool, I think that's probably it for this episode. So hope you enjoyed it again, and please check out the other stuff we have also on our YouTube channel. But that's it. So stay safe and stay happy.